When the game gets rough and this life just seems so tough, make we talk, my people, make we talk. When this town becomes an ugly place, don't let it erase the smile from your face. Make we talk, people, make we talk. Conversation is the key, a guiding light for you and me. Spark a talk and you will see conflict solver A to Z. World leaders master the art of self-defense just by talk. So people, make we talk. Hey, we're living in a world that on ourselves we must depend. Make we talk, people.
Welcome to the Make We Talk program this evening. We're going to speak to retired Deputy Commissioner of Police, Ms.Novelette Grant. Welcome to the program.
Good evening. Thank you.
You have a lot of accolades behind your name that I am of them. But
just a few.
Pardon me?
Just a few.
Just a few, yes, indeed. I must say first, before I go any further, thank you for your service to this great nation of ours. For your dedication, and your service to Jamaica is remarkable, and I must say thank you for it.
Most appreciated. Thank you.
Deputy Commissioner, retired Deputy Commissioner, let me ask you this question here. Before I go any further, tell Jamaica who are just meeting you for the first time, people in the diaspora, people around the world who's watching this program live on YouTube, and other media portal that may have it on. Tell us who you are. Who is Miss Novelette Grant?
Just an ordinary Jamaican like anybody else, who served the constabulary for almost 38 years, 37 plus years, worked in various areas of policing. I started out in St. Elizabeth. That was my first division. We joined from Port Royal, closed Port Royal and opened Twickenham Park and graduated from there. So we are the batch that closed one entity and then opened the other. Then I went to St. Elizabeth. I was a detective there. And then I got on the accelerated program. I was the first woman to do so. And I worked in Manchester for a bit. I came to Kingston. I worked at Personnel. Then I went to St. Thomas. Then I was head of the Constabulary Staff College, which is a regional training institution. I was able to get it registered as a tertiary level institution after just one visit from the University Council of Jamaica. We got people from all over the region who came for management and executive leadership and police training there.
Yeah.
Worked with the university while I was there to develop a certificate in public administration specifically geared for police. And then I went to the Reform and Modernization Program, where started by Francis Forbes, who was commissioner at the time.
Yeah.
And yes, and then I went to Era 5, and then I was deputy commissioner. Then I acted as commissioner for a few days. And here I am. And I'm from Westmoreland, for those who are interested.
Where in Westmoreland are you from? Because I'm from Negril.
Ah, there you go. Well, I'm from Dees Valley, so we're parishioners.
Oh yes,
I'm from
yes we
Dees
are.
Valley.
Yes. The late custos of the parish of Westmoreland, James Thompson, helped to raise me.
Somebody I knew very well.
Yes.
Yes, of course. He and my mothers were. He and my mother. Well, everybody knew him.
Yes,
Everybody knew him. Knew him very, very, very well. Yes.
Before we get into everything that we want to get into. I must ask you this question, though, retired, Deputy Commissioner. Jamaica crime problem. Our crime is, as what they say, is the highest in the world. And sometimes we say to ourselves, not go so. I hope I'm not putting you on the spot, but what is your views on what is going on in our country now?
Well, one of the things that we don't readily accept in Jamaica is that we have a violence problem.
Yes.
From which spring our crime problem. So we're struggling in the sea of violence that gives rise to a lot of criminal acts of violence.
Yes.
Not all the acts of violence have been criminalized, but a lot of them are precursor to criminal violence.
Mm-hmm.
So until we start as a people to take responsibility for our own acts of violence that we commit in our homes, against family members, against our children, we raise them in the most violent ways, and people are quick to deny it. But let me tell you something. I have been, throughout my career, been involved with teenagers, schools. Yeah. From I was a young constable in St. Elizabeth. Even as a detective, I used to have to go to schools to give talks all over the place. I also used to have to go to juvenile. That was what they called it back then.
Yes.
And the evidence of the neglect and the abuse that happens within families. And these are the children who end up on the streets and start to get into gang activities from very early. These are the disruptive children that we see in schools. These are the people who you keep seeing the inability to manage conflict. You see evidence of all kinds of ways that we treat each other inhumanely. So that is part and parcel of what we have to grapple with. How? Because people have been asking these questions for years about how did we get to be the kind of people we are who can do the things we do.
Yes.
And if you don't open your eyes and look at how the dots are connected, you won't see it. So here it is that we are swimming in this sea of violence. And we continue to not see it as connected, the criminal acts of violence as not connected to the other things that we do to each other. We behave as if they are silos, not never the twain shall meet. But everything is connected, because until you study the thing and you do the analysis, you do the intelligence, you cannot really understand what is happening. Murders have been committed in Jamaica that when you dig the antecedent of it, it started years ago. Let me give you a case in point. When I was in charge of area, there was a particular community in one of the divisions that had an outbreak of gun violence. It didn't respond to the usual quote unquote hard policing of going in with patrols and whatnot. I asked the police to do something that is not really within our wheelwell, because we're not social work. I asked her a kind of what you would call a social report on the community. Right. That incident started in 2000, where two kids coming from school, and the boy, unfortunately, felt that he had a right. He was a little older to indecently assault the young girl. He touched her where he ought not to have touched her. She went home and complained to her mother. Her mother got the police involved. The police approach was to go to his house with the child and her mother and, talk to him about why his behavior was wrong. How did his family respond to that. They were offended. They felt that the police should never have been brought into the mix. So the long and short about it is that the girl's mother had a relationship with a gentleman who came from a different community. Well, a feud developed between the two families, obviously, because the boy's family was upset. Then her gentleman friend was being harassed not to come back in the community, and they hit him. The father and the son, they hit him, ambushed him and hit him. He reported it to the police and so on and so forth. That incident in a taxi coming home led to, after the man was assaulted, the boy's mother was shot and killed. They pointed finger at the man. Well, my friend, without going into all the details, it happened in 2000, and I was dealing with that thing in 2012. If you know the number, yes, I was still dealing with the fallout of that in 2012 when I went there. Because a number of persons got killed, gang formation became an issue. People start to look to old gangster for mentorship. People start to swap ganja for guns. Yeah? People started to look to overseas financing to buy guns. People got beat up. A number of people got killed. Because we dug and dug and dug and went back to how it started, as far back as we could go. The interventions that we were able to make thereafter quelled the whole thing. It stopped it in its track. When I handed over Area 5, I was assistant commissioner at the time. The two assistant commissioners who succeeded me, when I asked them, have you ever heard of this community? They said no. And I said, the reason why you haven't heard of this was what was happening. This is what we did. So there is no magic bullet about sending people to prison, because people stay in prison and continue to influence things on the outside. What is required is to have a comprehensive response framework that not just look at what you see in front of your eyes, but look at underlying issues that continue. Because, in fact, when I go into many communities, because I've toured many communities, and what I have found, right, is that what we have is tantamount to feuds among people of blood relationship and people with kinship ties of friendship and whatnot. You have stranger violence. So there is stranger violence, the random stranger violence. Yes. But a lot of these murders that we call reprisals, they're not being done by strangers. They are being done by people who know each other. I've gone into communities where people say to me that, and they tell you things about what happened from how long ago and who doing what. And it just go on and on and on like it can't stop. And then you have people who migrate, who deliberately fund the feud, send back money. Instead of they send the money to help the people uplift themselves, they deliberately fund the feud. So it's a very complex problem that we're having. You get into schools and you have school-based gangs. And these school-based gangs come out and become street gangs. And they become institutionalized street gangs. This is not just what I think. This is what the evidence on the ground tells me. I go to divisions, to places, and people will say to me, this is how this started. This is so. And you get it. So when you hear us talking about social intervention, it cannot be just slap something with that name and move on. You've got to do a certain amount of work to transform some of the issues that people are having. It has to be transformative. If it is not transformative, we ain't getting anywhere.
So, Deputy Commissioner, let me say this to you. Obviously, what is going on in Jamaica now is family feud, where family...
A lot of it is. Yes, a lot of it is, in my own blood. Because the community violence, because when you get into some communities, even though people in there have different last names, you go in there, many of them are related. some community. Many of them are related. You have
So what
people
you're
who will tell me, yeah, go ahead.
what you're saying to us now is that if we don't curb community violence, if we don't get involved in family feud or family cascas, I would say in Jamaica, if we don't get involved and try to solve that, then our crime problem will continue to get out of whack.
So here is a thing. I get a call a morning before I got to work about the killing of a brother by his sister. His sister was about 14 and so on. What is the background of him being killed? He was a violent and very abusive young man. And the whole family situation, very dysfunctional. He threatened them daily with violence. How is he gonna get gunmen to come and kill them? He had no respect for grandmother, mother, nobody. How he ended up being killed? He was now menacing this little one about a SIM card that she denied all knowledge of. And he went in the kitchen to batter her. And she grabbed a knife and one slash. Unfortunately, he ended up dying. They nearly killed that girl.
Wow.
The rest of them, that the same abused people, nearly killed that girl. Because when you hear her life story as a 14-year-old, so when we see the headlines, all we get is so and so is killed, this, that happened. And you may very well have some people who come on media and say something, but in 2 minutes, you really don't get to the heart of some of what is driving, what are the drivers in our violent acts. And until we can get and understand what are the drivers are, we have no hope of really properly addressing the problem in a way that we can see the kind of change that we want to see in the communities. I can give you, I can stay here and just give you 37 years of this kind of, to tell you that this is not something I'm making up. This is experience. This is data. This is the data that we have. Right? So the media only reports an incident, but there is more behind each incident than meets the eye.
And you know, Deputy Commissioner, a lot of Jamaicans, both in Jamaica and overseas, are saying that Jamaica's crime rate is not what the JCF is reporting. And a lot of people will say, you know, they said it's 1,000 something. But, you know, when you calculate it, it's more than 1,000 something. So
well,
Jamaicans are saying...
No. We have to be careful now. What we talk about crime rate or whatever. People pay attention only to the dead bodies, to the murders. That's all they pay attention to. Because that is what gets reported. And obviously, it is the most important crime to pay attention to. Because you're talking about people's lives. And when one person gets killed, usually, in many instances, it's not just the dead person who's affected because they leave dependents or they leave other people who want to retaliate on their behalf and so on. So each death has the potential to lead to more death and all kinds of other problems. So it's not an isolated incident, but what we need to recognize that there are other violent acts that we are not paying enough attention to, and that is the point I am making. So when I look at the data around shooting and murders in 1960, I have it on another computer, not right in front of me, just a step behind me. I could have just run down and show you how the thing escalated, because we have data from 1960. I got the data around murders and shooting from 1960 until I left the system around 2017, 18.
Would it be hard for you? Hold on there for me, Deputy Commissioner. Would it be hard for you to get that computer up and give us the figures?
No, it's not hard. Bear with me a second. Just go grab it.
I will bear with you because we need to know, Deputy Commissioner. We need to know. I'll bear with you, ma'am. We're speaking to retired Deputy Commissioner of Police, Novelette Grant. She is a non-nonsense person, an outspoken person, a person who stands for law and order. And, you know, it is good to have her to come onto the program here and give us some rundown of, you know, Jamaica's murder rate from, you know, in the 1960s come up until now. And, you know, when we sit down and we look at what is going on in our country, we say to ourselves that Jamaica is getting out of hand. And as I always said, it seems as if this country is knocking behind Haiti's back door. Remember to like, share, and subscribe to this YouTube channel. Share the live to everyone and let them know that retired Deputy Commissioner of Police, Ms. Novelette Grant, is on the program here this evening. Ms. Grant?
Yes, I'm back with you. So just
Go
let
ahead.
me just find the file.
Okay.
So look here, one of the things, I'm just have to open the file.
Go ahead.
Right. Yes, I'm opening the file. So you know, we had about 1 million plus people as a population in Jamaica, 1.6 million people in 1960.
Yes.
And as a country, there were 60 recorded murders in that year, 1960. So the police were able to hold somebody accountable for 58. That's a 97% cleared up rate. The rate of that in that year was 3.7 per 100,000 of population. 1960.
Wow. Okay.
And the year that we made a turning point in terms of having over, between 1960 and 1965, the murders remained under 100. In 1966, it went up to 111. That's the first year we went over 100 murders. And the rate went up to 6.9 per 100,000. And the clear-up rate went well. 1967, again, another 100. Well, we have not come down from hundreds since that time. We went up into multiple hundreds rather than coming back down to under 100. And the rate steadily increased. In 1970, the population was said to be 1.8 million. And the murders for that year was 152. And by the way, I think 1967 was the first year that a limited state of emergency was called in Jamaica.
Yes, I remember hearing them talk about it.
Okay. So you start to see from when. And for those who are interested, you know, Prince Buster has a song that was released 1960 something called Too Hot. This town is too hot. People should listen to the lyrics of that song, because that song could be talking about now.
Yes.
We can't live in the now is very important, but the now is a accumulation of things that happened in the before now. And sometimes because we're just looking at issues as if to say it started yesterday, we're not really making the connections and see how we have fallen off the cliff. So let me move up though and show you how the population changed and all of the things that happened. The first year we went into multiple hundreds was 73, where we had 232 people being killed. And of course, with the population increase and the numbers going up, we end up with a rate of 12.5 per 100,000 of population. That is what we talk about when we talk about murder rate. Is a crime vis-a-vis the number of crime vis-a-vis the population, right? So people talking about rate and whether it's true or not. Well, I don't know what their calculation is being made against. The next year, and then of course 1980, everybody, whether you were alive or not, would have heard about what happened in 1980.
Yes, with the 1980 election and so forth.
That whole period was volatile. So we moved up from 200 into 300. 1977, was 409, and people used to talk about when the 4-7s clash, and anticipating all kinds of mayhem. And then it come back down to 300, and then 889. And the rate jumped to 48.1 of 100,000 of thing. But as the numbers increase, you also see the reduction in the number of people that the police are able now to hold accountable, because the numbers start to grow. Right? Remember, they started out in 1960 being able to have a 97% cleared up rate.
Yes.
By 1980 came around, the cleared up rate dropped. Well, 1980 itself, it was in the 60s and high 50s and so on. 80s come right down in terms of the number of murders that were cleared up. When 1980 came around with 889, boom, you know, the ability now to hold people accountable was reduced. And then after the 80 election, somehow the thing went back down to 400s, in the 400s, and the population in 1982 was at 2.1 million, right?
Yeah.
And so the rates dropped back from 48 to 26 right now in that decade. And then in 1990, it went to 500, over 500 murders for the year. 91, 561. By 1992, it went up to 629, and the population had moved up to 2.3 million, right?
Yes.
And we continue. And then what was the year that we again broke a record that is not a record we should have broken? In 1997, we had 1,038 murders for a murder rate of 43.6.
Hold on for me, Deputy Commissioner. You're saying in 19, how much what?
97.
We have 1,000, how much murders?
38.
1,038 murders. For
in 1997.
For 1997,
Yeah.
how much?
2.8 bill.
2.8 million. Well, continue.
And for a murder rate of 43.6. Right? And you know,
so in other words, in the
Yeah.
1990s, that's the time Jamaica's murder rates started climbing.
No, it started climbing before that. Remember I told you about the rates. Remember
Right,
how
yes.
rate is, right. So it started climbing, it fluctuated obviously.
Right.
So it has been going up moved from that 3.7 in 1960. It has consistently gone up. So I'm not a great mathematician, but statistically, if you plot all of these numbers on a graph, that trend line continue to rise. You have the numbers fall either below or above it at some time, but the line steadily keeps going up. It didn't come down, right? Because each year the numbers go up. So in the 90s, it actually came back down to be under 1,000, 98, 99, 2,000, to be 900, 800 and whatnot. But 2001, it went up to 1,139, again with the population being what it is, 43.8. And in 2002, same 1,045. In 2003, it dipped again to 975. And from that year until today, we have not managed to come down under 1,000 murders, because all kinds of other social disorder and so on continue to rise. The overall violence within the society, the guns. When I went to St. Elizabeth as a young constable,
Yes.
there Marine police. When I got there, the police who I saw there said that there was Marine police based in St. Elizabeth. For some reason, it wasn't there when I got there. But the whole of that South Coast, guns for drug trade was a big thing. Because the fisher folk used to go out and go all the way to well, again, if you're not, if I'm an old folk now, so I have memory of things.
Yes.
All kind of civil war used to be breaking out in Central America or wherever.
Yes, yes.
And and they would go there and swap ganja for guns. The saving grace that, because the intelligence that we had was telling us that. The saving grace for us back then was that they couldn't get the ammunitions because they didn't want 38, they wanted rifles. And nobody in a civil war was going to give you their bullets.
Right.
So they used to try and bury those guns. Right? You try and find them, but because they weren't being used, it wasn't easy. So guns for drug is not anything new. So the drug trade fueled a kind of a mentality, because here's the problem. You can't, in all honesty, expect to come and report that your drug is being stolen and expect you're going to get police protection for that. So people now have to start to find ways and means to protect their illegal products.
Yes.
When I went there, people used to come and tell me that it's peanut that was stolen, when peanut was a euphemism for ganja.
Oh.
So I'm just telling you that you have to, it is easy to react and be emotional to what you see on the headline.
Yes.
In the newspaper, and what you hear a lot of people talk about. But when you don't understand the phenomenon that has been growing and the various things that drove it, then you believe that the answer is a ABC 1, 2, 3, and it is simple. When you're not really addressing a lot of the drivers that was pushing, and commensurate with the increase in numbers of dead bodies, of people being killed, was the gun crime, other shootings, robberies, rapes, you name it, those would have been happening too. Plus the woundings, the assaults, the child abuse, the carnal abuse, as we used to call it back then. All of that was happening. The delinquency from schools and all of that was happening all together. So it became, you had the perfect storm to continue to push people into criminal acts of violence, including the ultimate, which is killing somebody else. So, and then what you found was the courthouse also couldn't manage the volume of cases that were descending on them. As a detective, I had cases in court. I used to be in court every week. Right? I have take a simple case that I had. It was a case of unlawful wounding. And 3 years later, the complainant said to me, I'm not coming back to court. Why? Because this is a man who earns his living on his own and has to find the money to come to court each time his case is postponed. So he's the opportunity. So the opportunity cost is him giving up the earning a living to come to courthouse, find the fare, find the lunch money or whatever. And after 3 years, he got fed up and frustrated. He said, Miss, I'm not coming back. I can't afford to.
So in other words, Deputy Commissioner, our justice system have a lot to play in what is going on too.
That's why I'm telling you that it's not just a one-dimensional problem. The same way when the volume increases in the number of people who are committing violent acts, the institutions, without their capacity being expanded, would obviously not be able to handle the volume that comes to them. You take a rape victim to a hospital, you sit there all day in casualty, trying to get somebody to see that person. People get fed up and not coming back. Back in those days in the 80s, they get fed up and there was not the same drive for reprisal. But afterward, you see the switch, the script flip, where people decide, I'm going to take this, I'm going to do what satisfies me. Because I can't rely on the state. Because the state's capacity and capability to handle the volume of overall violence and the criminal violence was defeated because the numbers just keep growing. But because the public don't look at the problem in its breadth and depth, they keep asking about a crime plan. You need a violence plan first and foremost. How do we get this this country, this society to pull back from the level of violence? Because it's the level of violence that gives rise to the criminal violence.
So in other words,
Look at what I tell you about that. Yeah.
In other words, Deputy Commissioner, you're saying before this country get a crime plan, they have to have a violent plan put in place.
Violence prevention plan. Yes. Because we have to manage conflict better. We have to have better relationship in the homes. Here's another thing that a lot of people don't know. The violence on the street, the victims and perpetrator are more men, right, than women. But the violence in the homes, it's more women and children than men, perpetrated by men more often than not. And a lot of it is also perpetrated by women and their children, because especially when you have them being the sole breadwinner and the frustration and so on, the things they do and say to their children is just setting them up to run away from home. I looked at 10 years of children missing some years ago while I was still in the system. And from those who return home, we try to find out why did they go missing. 3 major reasons: conflict with parents, peer pressure, sexual activities. More girls go missing than boys. They get killed on the road, they get trafficked, they get sexually abused, all kinds of things happen to them. Why are our children not staying in their homes? And even when they are in their homes, it's conflict and abuse. So yes. I am and the same thing. If you notice, I do domestic violence intervention training. I have been doing that since for 20 odd years now. Do these workshops to educate people, to raise awareness and to raise violence prevention. It's not very sexy, so funding is not always easily available for these kinds of intervention and education and training.
Yes.
But I'll tell you this, that kind of training involves a lot of cross sections of the community, from police and together, because it's about getting some kind of coordinated community awareness and hopefully response. So you'll have people from faith-based organizations, justices of the peace, education, health, you name it, they are there. And when I point out, I had one just last week. Remember when you called, I told you I was going to have one.
Right, yes.
Deans of discipline and so on come to some of these training. I invite them and they get to come. And I pointed out to them that I am seeing a level of aggression based on the videos that are being circulated among girls that is worrisome, because it looks exactly like the kind of aggression you see that are being circulated.
Yes. Deputy Commissioner, I have with us Herb Nelson Jr., security consultant, who is joining us now. Mr. Nelson, this is Deputy Commissioner.
Yes, sir.
I believe we spoke briefly in the past. I come from, my mom comes from a Grant family out of Clarendon and St. Thomas. And I think I was trying to trace my roots back then. This is probably about before you left the force. You were still in
okay.
I believe.
I have relatives in Clarendon too.
We do.
I don't know a lot of them.
There you go. So we're closer than you think. I'm intrigued listening to the earlier part of the program. I was driving home. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, I'm hearing you loud.
We're hearing you loud and clear. Go ahead.
Okay. I know you talk about the statistical elements of policing, and when you take a look at the use of statistics and how you apply it by areas, let's say you have area 1 through 7, and
No, territorial is 1 through 5. The
one.
others are this. There's no geographic area 7.
Okay,
So
all right.
the
So one
14
through
parishes
five.
of Jamaica are in one
Okay,
through five. Yeah.
understood. And you have each area pegged out to know what are the triggers of crime, are the triggers of murders, right? You know, if you have a lot of businesses, cash businesses, for instance, um, about to get targeted when it comes to the people who are dealing with cash? Naturally, shopkeepers deal with a lot of cash, and you also have, maybe the gas stations. You talk about low hanging fruit. Where can we hit and where can we run? So if you're
Well,
analyzing across 5 areas, has anybody pegged out the businesses that are susceptible to that kind of
yeah,
robbery?
that's part of we have within the system what we call an intelligence bureau, where we have crime and intelligence analysts.
Right,
So obviously, using the crime data and plus what you get from CHIS, right? You are able then to analyze and to see where vulnerabilities lie.
right.
To a huge number of the problems are gang related, obviously.
Uh-huh.
But the question is, before you become a gang member, where did you come from? That's
Okay.
my argument. Gang members didn't come into the society fully formed. Or they are not immigrants from other countries who come here and are giving us trouble. So I'm trying to get people to see that while you have to deal with those who are adults and doing all the things that they're doing, if you ignore the connecting dots of those at risk from joining in the same kind of activities, then the problem will just continue to manifest itself and to get more complicated and toxic. So it's not a question about looking at low hanging fruits, because one of the things that we recognize in doing our analysis, when at least when I was there, and I used to do it, because I've been doing analysis from I was a detective. Right? We had a thing we call crime survey. That was what helped you to understand where your crime patterns and so on and so forth, and what needs to be done. The reality of it is that you recognize where people were most likely to get hurt, because the targets that people were looking for tend to hang out in certain spots and certain places, and you knew it and you knew where they were going. We also looked at spatial um, configurations, where, for example, one of my divisions, you had people used to hide. We have road reservations,
Yeah.
so that in case highways need to be built out, they have that road, that plots of land where they can go and take over. And so near some of the highways, you have these overgrown places, and guys would come out of the bushes and prey on motorists, because when you're in bumper to bumper traffic, you can't move fast, obviously. When we analyze and recognize what was going on, we had to take the responsibility to cut down the bushes, all of that. And the minute we cut it down, they didn't have a safe space from which to launch an attack on cars. So those are the kind of work that we had to do. The trouble with it is that these are things that don't fall within the remit of the police.
Yeah.
But we ended up doing it because we want to, people's safety and
Yeah.
security is important. So if we don't do the analysis, those things would have happened,
Deputy Commissioner, we have
because
a
we would have
call.
been less stuck.
Yes, sir, we have a
Yes.
call online. Go ahead, caller. Welcome to the program. Are you hearing it?
Can't hear anybody, Jeff.
Hold on for me. Caller, good evening.
Need more volume.
Oh, Lord.
Is he on your speaker, Jeff?
Hold on for me. Hold on. Let me see something here. We do apologize about this. Hold on a minute, please. Hold on. Okay. Go again for me, caller. Is it any way better, Sir Herb?
Can't hear him.
Jesus.
I don't think any of
All
us.
right, go ahead. Caller, go ahead.
You probably need to hang up and call again. Maybe that's what he needs to do.
Yeah.
Ms.Novelette,
No, we hearing.
retired Deputy Commissioner of Police, Ms.Novelette Grant, and Herb Nelson, Mr. Herb Nelson Jr. Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening to you,
Dr.
sir.
Gordon from OBC Radio. I would like to ask the Deputy Commissioner of Police, how long she has served?
I am
what
retired,
year,
sir.
and
I am no longer a deputy commissioner
between
of
what
police,
year
just to be
she
clear.
She's no longer
I'm
the
not in the
Commissioner of
force
Police.
anymore.
I
I'm
know
not in the
I'm
force
asking,
anymore, just to be clear.
what year she had served?
He was
I
asking
left in
what's your
2018.
tenure? Your tenure, how long was
I
it?
left in 2018. I said it at the beginning. I left in 2018.
She left
Nearly
in 2018.
38 years.
2018. Okay. And another, I would just like to commend you on your service,
Thank you.
Ms. Novelette Grant. I
Thank you,
know
sir.
it's not a easy job to do. However, I've been listening to you on the program here, and you spoke about crime and violence, where it's a lot of cause from the family and the community. But isn't it? I haven't heard you touch anything on where politicians are
I don't touch that route,
mostly.
sir. I don't touch that route. You know why I don't touch that route? Then it becomes partisan because people now start to attack you. So for those who know, they know. If you don't know, you don't know. There are some things that, based on the job that I did, and even now that I've left it, I am not going to point fingers at anybody. When I spoke about the 1980s, 1980, when the thing ballooned, everybody knew what happened in Jamaica, because that's it. The level of political violence, we know that. So I don't need to go into that. I am talking about other things that we can deal with, that if we deal with them, sir, then we won't fall prey to political manipulation. Because when we are educated and we can reason and think without conflict and without coming to blows, then it is not going to be easy for people to manipulate us to be against each other. So one of the questions we must ask, what are we doing? You know what I'm saying? Go ahead.
The education systems of which you wanted to say something with Tavares.
No, go ahead, man. Go ahead.
Oh, the education system of which you speak of just now is run also by those who we elected to serve, which come back again to the politicians. So if they are the one who are in place and corruption from the top there, how is it? Doesn't it make your job more difficult?
Hold on for me, Dr.
When
Gordon.
you were in position as an assistant commissioner?
Dr. Gordon, hold on for me, please. Deputy Commissioner of Police, as she said earlier on, just a while ago also, that she will not comment on the whole political system in Jamaica. She will comment on the whole security system that's going on in Jamaica. I want to come on to the politics of the security system, she will not comment on that. So it's best that you ask her something to the security of the country. So maybe she can answer that part or whatever, but not the political part of it.
Jeffrey,
But let me say something. Let me say something. When it comes to governance and government, no, everybody expect them to lead, right? The question that I always ask citizens: so what is your role in ensuring that you get the governance and from the government that is in place? Because that is you see, everybody has a responsibility. I have always said that this is not something
Okay.
that is partisan,
Hold a sec.
political. Hold
Hold
on,
a
give me
sec, Ms.
no, no, let me
Hold a
finish.
sec, Ms.
Let
Novelette.
me finish.
Hold on, let she finish.
Let's
Let she finish.
correct.
Let she
Let's
finish.
correct that word. Wait, no. Let's just correct that word as you said. With the politician and use the word government.
All right. So the point is that, as far as I am concerned, everything that I have ever studied and experienced as a police officer tells me that to deal with the security of a country is a all of government, whole of society responsibility, obviously. Also, the reality of it is that in any country in the world, the first responsibility of any government is the safety and security of its people. That's a given. And over the time that I have been in there, we hear the different policies that the different administrations would have put on the table about dealing with the crime problem. Dilemma with that is that as a economically strapped country, we have never been able to fully fund the various institutions in the way that they need to be funded to have the capacity and the capability to manage the problem. And that is why from I joined this thing as a recruit, I have always been on the side of prevention. Because one of the things that they taught us in training was about the prevention of crime and the detection of crime and the preservation of peace and good order. And to me, it's common sense that we prevent is way better than trying to detect, because that time somebody has gotten hurt. But the system that we inherited and took with us into independence was not necessarily set up to deliver the kind of policing that we require. And that's a whole different kind of conversation that I'm not going to really get into.
Yes.
But the reality of it is that when you have this system that relies on punitive measures only, coercive measures only, and then it cannot even deliver on that as it should, then the rest of challenges that people are having that leads to criminal violence doesn't get addressed. This is where you need an education system that teach people core life skills, like our youth. Because the areas where we have been in very small ways, been able to interact with schools and youth and teach them core life skills, we have seen those kids make remarkable changes in their attitude. I tell you, I think I was telling Jeffrey when I was talking to him.
Yes.
And if I did, let me share that with you and with the caller. We went into some schools before I left the force with a program called Youth Empowerment and Mentorship Program that had a theme called iPad for Life. The first ever one we did is a year mentorship program, and we did it by having a 2-week residential program where we start to introduce the youngsters to core life skills. They were high schoolers, right? And the first one we did, when we had the evaluation after the residential camp to set us up for the school year, one of the teachers confessed that all he knows is iPad save life. So everybody started laughing because we thought he was joking. That's what you mean it save life. And he said, no, I'm serious. It saved my life. Because one of the boys approached me near the end of the 2 week and said to him, sir, do you know I was planning to kill you? The man said he was so frightened. He's a teacher at the school. And when the youth told him that, he said, but you don't have to worry, I'm not going to do it again. And the man asked him, the teacher asked him, so why you not going to do it again? He said, based on what them teach me upon the camp, I not do it again, so you don't have to worry. And that was just the first story. We have had stories from kids who are planning revenge on other kids. We had a boy who came back and confessed to a feud between him and another boy. And he talked about holding up a machete over the other boy's neck to chop it off. And then he remembered. And he started crying. And then they hugged each other and talked about why are they fighting. That boy came back and told us that. Because they learned something different. And we have huge stories like that.
So from what I'm hearing from your
yes.
What I'm hearing from your deputy commissioner, based on your experience,
just say Miss Grant, man. Just call me Novelette or say Miss Grant. Don't worry about the title.
Okay.
Miss Grant will work.
Based on
yes.
Based on your experience, what I'm hearing from you is that what the community need is more than policing in getting people arrested and put behind bars. They need more uplifting.
That's just one part of it.
People to talk to and like learning trades and skills inside of the community.
Before you even know, but before you even get to trade,
hold on for me, caller. Hold on for me.
Before you even get to trade, yes.
Hold on for me. Caller, can you hang up and let you respond to you, please?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Go ahead, Ms. Grant.
Before we even get to trade, you know, one of the key things that we need to teach our children is problem solving.
Yes.
Conflict management. Because we don't understand that those are core essential skills that we need to take us into adulthood. Some of these kids don't understand how to. When they tell us their thing, a lot of them are angry, a lot of them are abused. And to make the link for you, my brother, when we look at the statistic again, so a number of the perpetrators of gang violence are in their teens and early 20s. Some of them that got killed either by police or by other gang members. It is shocking when you listen to when you look at what they have behind them in terms of the number of acts of violence, including murder that they have committed, and find out that these are just 17, 18, 19. The numbers just don't match the age of these youngsters, right? So I am just telling you that we the public, because we are not fully aware of the depth and breadth and scope of the problem, we keep going down the rabbit hole and asking about a crime plan. Not saying you shouldn't ask for one, but what should be in this crime plan, if you want to call it that? Because it really doesn't matter what you call this plan. The question is, what are the elements that need to be addressed in these plans? The element can't be about more police, just about more police being on the street in and of itself. It can't be just about who you lock up in and of itself. It has to be, how do you reduce the risk of those who are young and are coming up to join? The research all over the world has shown us, for example, that youth who have older siblings, older brothers and sisters.
Sorry to cut you, Ms. Grant. Hold on for me. Sorry to cut you, Ms. Grant. Sorry to cut you. Sir Herb and Ms. Grant, just continue for 5 minutes for me. The alarm on this house went off, so give me a minute, please.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Take care of your business, my brother. Make sure you're safe. Yes. No, the research shows that a child who grows up in a family that already have people involved in gang and violence is likely to follow them, highly likely, more likely to follow them than a kid who is not exposed to that. So when you look at the environment, the exposure, and the experience that our youngsters are getting in homes and community and in institutions, we are setting up ourselves for having this high cycle of violence. And what we are asking for is using the same one approach solely to get the result that we want. What we need is a diversity of approaches. No one approach. It has to be multifaceted. We say we have them. The question is, what is the substance behind these interventions that we have? That we're not seeing the results that we should be seeing in light of our. And this is where now, Carla, we need our citizens to educate themselves about what is available. And this is where you know hold the government, whatever you want to call them, accountable to say, how is it that you spend all of this money on this and we not, what is the outcome? What is the result? So it's not to just get up and repeat what we hear people talking about, crime plan, crime plan. It's a question of knowing what the problem is and asking for either you put forward ideas, because we were there doing it for years. But people not hearing us, because all people keep saying, lock them up, lock them up, lock them up. You can't, you can't lock up everybody, but you can do a lot to prevent whole heap of problems down the road. Right? We have a school boy who stepped in another boy's head just the other day. I mean, that I don't know what the prognosis is for that youngster's health because his shoes was stepped on. That is a clear problem of anger issues, and a whole lot of other issues that I'm not going to stay and diagnose people's children because I don't know them. I don't have all the facts. I'm not in the system. But that clearly speaks of anger issues that is not properly managed, and that this boy doesn't have any conflict management or problem solving skills. That tells you.
Let me ask you, Ms. Grant, let's go back to the beginning for a minute. And you said it to Dr. Gordon that, in fact, the issue in your statistics in 1980, and I'm sure the years approaching 1980, that violence that broke out then, all the way through.
I started from 1960. You may not have heard. I started from 1960.
But
you may not have heard me. I started from 1960.
The peak of the violence was in 1980 back initially. Would you agree?
But yeah, between 60 and 1980.
Between 60 and 1980. But 1980, when the CIA and SIAG and everybody got involved, things really got out of whack.
I wasn't a police then.
Well, I understand, but let's use your analogy. Let's look at the amount of violence meted out in the communities, I should say, across 14 parishes during the time of elections, because the violence was in every parish. Would you say?
I was in Westmoreland and I didn't have any challenge down there with it. 1980, we didn't have that kind of situation down there.
Okay, but the fact that
from all I know, it was an urban problem. Most of what happened in the 80s was
an urban problem. Yeah,
was more urban than rural.
Okay.
At the time.
I'm gonna bring in another scenario to you that is causing.
Someone have on a fan in the background?
Huh?
Someone have on a fan in the background?
Well, I had to have mine near me because of where I'm sitting is very hot.
Oh, okay.
So here it's picking it up. It's picking it up.
I'm getting enough feedback in the system here.
Oh, hold on.
We're speaking to retired Deputy Commissioner of Police, Ms.Novelette Grant, and our good friend Herb Nelson Jr., security consultant. Go ahead.
Now,
can't do it without the fire.
Let's look at a collision of sorts. you have people who were harmed back then, people who have since scattered to the 14 parishes. Zoso and state of emergency ensure that. You have people who came from the country to town, so to speak, and they joined with different parties as supporters. And so all of these folks who were killed have an axe to grind, if we're using your analogy. If we look at the lot of
I didn't make an analogy without due respect. I made no analogy. I basically pointed out that there are a number of factors. We were talking about murder rate, and I started to share the rates right down until I left the force, the numbers that I have, the data. One of the things I talk about reprisal, and a lot of the reprisal these days is because of gang violence. Gang members have actually freed themselves to a great extent from political control. They are almost independent actors.
Okay, well,
Cannot be
I'm getting
controlled
there.
by
I'm getting there. Just bear with me for a sec. So it started with the political control and the garrison communities. And then we saw where there was a breakaway and the Dons pretty much took over these communities. And we continue to have youth gravitate to gangs because a lot of them grow up as latchkey kids. In other words, there's no parents. You have single mothers working. They have no control over the kids. They try to lock them in. That doesn't work. Kids somehow talk to friends in school, and they're influenced by friends, and they go off and they join these various gangs. And then we see today in our communities the lot of scamming, where if a relative fails to pay off funds that they collected in the US, that a whole family is impacted by murder and other sequence of violence because somebody didn't get the money, right? So you have all these things that are ongoing, and there's analysis being done by police analysts from what you're telling me, and the police analysts can chop down bushes to stop people from coming out of the bush and attacking slow-moving traffic. But what are the police analysts doing long-term, short-term, to deal with the reprisal killings and to predict with some semblance, doesn't have to be 100% accuracy, but to predict the patterns of crime occurring in certain areas based on the collection factors that NIB or other agencies, MOCA, CTOC, even MIU has these things collected. What are the analysts doing?
Let me give you a simple answer. Let me give you a simple answer. There are some things about what police do that I will never come and tell in the media, because that is actually would be like inviting people who are doing the wrong things to say, oh, this is what they do. So get me straight on that. I don't beyond that. When I use that, that was a simple example that could be used. But let me tell you that a lot of predictive analytics go into what we do, and that is how, and that is how we have been able. Because when I was in there, I trained a number of people in analysis. I even developed a model to help us to reduce reprisal killings, and it worked. Suffice to say, it's been done. But the point I make, the complexities and the scope of the problem requires more than just the police.
So in other words,
I was gonna say I fully understand that, because when we came there with the Jamaica anti-crime task force in 2016, I think you're still in office. I briefed the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the National Security, because they came over there and they joined the briefing. And I spoke then of safer cities via smarter communities, right? In other words, if you get your communities to understand projects, to understand submission of projects, to begin these projects for your youth to bring to and to for your outer work people. That was the gist of the briefing. And the first,
You have to transform communities, Doc. You have
yes,
communities. Because if you don't transform the communities, and you have to work with the people in partnership with the people in a way that you don't parachute in ideas that is alien to them. But you sit with them, you converse with them, and you start with the transformation. That is how you turn around the thing.
yeah, but it can't be done without funds, though. You do need
That's my
funding.
so we're coming back. You're coming back to the point that I have been making all along. That is not a one solution, and the solutions require committed, continuous funding. We have to see these things as processes and not events. So because one of the things that we get caught up in, is trying to believe that we can get the short-term gains and you start to celebrate it because you have intergenerational issues going on. And because you have intergenerational issues, you have to break the cycle. Let me give you a simple example, for example. So, as I told you, I don't know if you are joined when I talk about doing education and training in domestic violence
Yeah,
prevention and intervention.
yeah, I was listening
Right,
when you were.
right. I've been doing it now for 20 odd years within Jamaica and in the region. I had so many people that I trained when they were called by an inspector in a certain parish to come and walk through a community because the domestic violence was high. And just a walk through to try and see how much they could reach and basically, I would say, raise the awareness of people about how they were living. You get into a home and they're talking to the family members. The mother and the mother and two of the sons on one side of the divide, and the father and the other two on one side divide, in the same home. Can't resolve their issues. And that is where you have the continued abuse, the violence, and the young generation coming up seeing that. Now, in that little time that they were in the community and they sat them down and talked with them, not just them alone, but a number of other people, but that particular family stood out for them. They were able to at that point get a breakthrough. Whether it held after they left, I don't know. I'm hoping that it did. But basically, some kind of rapprochement, and they brought down the barriers and the anger and everything that was festering. Right? So we have to address the violence that happens in the home. The United Nations Office on Drug and Crime in 2017 pointed out that the home was one of the most dangerous places for women. And in that year, Jamaica was a country with the second highest victims of domestic violence. Think El Salvador and us. We were the country where our women were more likely to be killed by a partner than any, just followed by El Salvador in the world.
Wow.
Right? So when you look at the killing, the killing don't always happen. But what about the other types of abuses that are happening there? That bleed out in the community, that bleed out into the school, where these youngsters, instead of being brought up in nurturing and loving homes, they have an environment of abandonment and abuse. Right? So when you talk to them on the street and they tell you some of the experiences, We have a lot of people with a lot of issues. And that is why they are able to do some of the things they do without any apparent remorse. So our psychosocial health not still good either, doc. So that is why I'm saying this is not a one size, one solution problem. And I cannot, based on all that I have been trained to understand and all that I have as a professional experience, I just cannot look at the problem in a very narrow point of view. I have to look at the big picture and try to bring awareness to how broad it is, because each of us can start a change towards reducing violence in Jamaica. We can go back in our homes and start to look at how we are doing things, how we are raising our children, how we are treating each other. Take, for example, something like this. As a society, we get up and we talk about killing people for every simple thing. Every simple thing. Even parents who are upset with a child, are going to kill you with lick, are going to murder you. We keep speaking that. And so in people's mind, there is a connection between the slightest infraction and death. That is my experience. That is my solution. That is what I'm going to be doing, because that is what you tell me. So I'm going to kill you for the slightest thing. I need battery. Give me a second.
Yes. We're speaking to retired Deputy Commissioner of Police, Ms.Novelette Grant. Remember to like, share, and subscribe to the Make We Talk Jeffrey Tavares YouTube channel. You got to share this live. Share this live.
You can still hear me, Jeffrey?
Yes, I'm hearing you loud and clear.
Okay. All right.
Share this live because we have a distinguished Jamaican. Although she retired, she's still doing some work in the land of wood and water to assist the Jamaican people. She's not being paid for it, but she still do it because she loves country. She put country over politics.
Not just me alone, Jeffrey. I have some other retired police with me and some civilians. We are a group that we get a small stipend from the Ministry of Culture. That is Babsy Grange's, Honorable Babsy Grange's ministry, through the Bureau of Gender Affairs. And that has been able to keep us afloat, to have these awareness sessions where we train people. Because what we want people to recognize is some of the cultural changes that we need to see if we are to tackle this problem. So while you're going to have the detection and the prevention from law enforcement according to law, right? You have to also have the other side of it, which takes a multiplicity of approaches, where we help to educate our people about managing emotions, managing conflict, treating each other better. Stop threatening and abusing and neglecting and really doing violence to young minds.
I have a question in the chat room here, Miss Brown, Miss Brown, Miss Grant from Owen Brown, journalist from Retied, well, retired from Retied 6.9 from
Yeah,
North
I know
FM.
the name.
Okay. He's asking, how can we start to make the change of what we're talking about now? How can we start to make the change for Jamaicans? Go ahead.
So one of the things that we do when we do the domestic violence workshop, so just let me tell you the approach. We start to raise awareness for people to understand, what is abuse, what abuse looks like.
Yes.
How is it experienced? How is it perpetrated? And we show its impact on our children and our family. And we start to point out some of the things that we need to do differently to create healthier relationship, to learn problem solving and conflict management skills. So let us say that within your home, you are not listening to your children. When they're very young, they want to tell you everything. Many of us are too busy to listen to them. Doctor mentioned that
You mean Mr. Nelson? He's
peers.
Not
No. Well,
oh, Dr. Garden.
well, yes,
Okay, go ahead.
yes. He said that, and it is a fact. It is research based that our peers are more influential in children's lives than our parents, and that has been happening from the 50s come down, whether we know it or not. Not me say it, researchers say it. And in today's day is even more. So the question for parents, who is the influencer in your children's life? Who do they listen to? Because many times when we want to listen to them, we would have already denied them their voice. We would have already been too busy. We don't know what is going on in their heads. And when they hit that puberty period, then normally going to start shut down anyway because it's part of the growth situation. When we are all teenagers, you don't want to tell parents anything. But so it becomes even more worse when you never had them opening up to you and being able to talk with you. Adults who must look at their relationship and figure out whether they are abusers and perpetrators. In a workshop setting, we give you instrument to help you assess yourself. And then we tell you that when you assess yourself, we work to help you work through some of the issues by educating you and making you aware. Yes. And then we tell you, you can sit and have a conversation with family and with friends and even community member to explain and educate them about what abuse look like. That what look like is nothing. What a dean of discipline just told me about teenagers in the school. The boy beating up the girl. And when the dean called the girl and called them about it, you hear what the young lady said? It's my boyfriend. And it isn't, I know nothing, we didn't do something, but he okay now. So she has been socialized by her home and community, both of them, yes, to believe that the solution to displeasure is to get your gizzard boss. Beat up, and once you beat, and if they continue in this kind of situation, you see the dilemma? Yes. Violence. We teach in violence, we live in violence. We shouldn't be surprised then when people end up being killed in this kind of situation. We shouldn't be surprised when kids become gang members in this kind of situation. Another thing, when we go on school visits, a number of kids will tell you how they are being pressured to join gangs. And they have nobody to talk to because their parents are not, quote unquote, available for them to talk to. So we want the other way that we can help. Get yourself trained as a mentor. Join a mentorship program. Start one. If you start one, Mr. Brown, and you want help in getting training as mentors, we can help you because that is what we used to do. And I'm sure Dr. Gordon will come and help you with mentorship training too. Yeah. And you can find people, whoever. Because this is what we need. A number of our, when we interact with youngsters, one of the things that surprised me was their willingness to just unburden themselves to us who are strangers to them. We never expected that degree of candor from them. But you know what? We treated them with respect. We listened to them. And in a matter of days, those kids, they were hostile when you just started. It's the first one. They didn't want to have anything to do with police. Took less than a night. By the next morning, everybody was on board. We put all of the kids who were oppositional in charge of groups. Give them responsibility. And they discharged those responsibility commendably well. Our kids have talent. They have potential. It is just not being guided. Because we make certain assumptions. We make some broad statement. They are supposed to. But who's showing them the way? What we're not recognizing is that between home and community and now the internet, we are showing them inappropriate rather than appropriate behaviors. Yes. So if we want to help, please, you can start a mentorship program, but please get training. Because in this age of sexual harassment and especially because we know about sexual harassment law. We don't want people to get themselves in trouble with
True.
youngsters.
Yes. Mr. Nelson, you there with us? Her?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, but you're frozen. That's what I'm asking, really, because I can hardly see you.
Okay. What I'll do, I'll keep speaking until this.
Yes,
thing,
go ahead.
So,
How much longer are we gonna be at?
Can you give me until 9:30? That's 8:30 your time. 8:30 your time. It's 9 o'clock.
9:30, 2 hours,
No,
2
8:30
and a
your
half
time.
hours.
8:30 your time,
Uh,
Deputy Commissioner.
8:30 my time.
Yes, yes.
I'm sorry. We are on different time zone.
Yes,
I'm
yes, yes.
sorry.
Yes.
Yeah, all
Yeah.
right. Yeah. You scared me.
No,
No.
it's grand. They are
Yes.
indeed overseas and various organizational programs that can help within the community. And I find that there's a failure to make any links to them. For instance, the NIA has a in-school mentorship program that they do that kind of touches on civics, but more or less the domestic violence and other issues. Are you aware of that?
Yeah,
And
I know NIA has mentorship program, and I know that restorative justice is also in school. But remember, have a lot of kids and a lot of schools, so we need more people on board.
I was just going to ask you about that. What is the population of high school and under children in Jamaica?
Not sure. Not sure. I wouldn't want to give a guess. I'm not sure.
If the population is 3 million, what percentage would you say are children? Half?
Looked at the statistics for quite a while. This is because when I was in the system, I had all of those things at my fingertip. The need to is not so urgent anymore, so I don't know. One of the things that I used to be aware of that in any given school year, probably have maybe 40,000 kids getting out in the summer, give or take. So I don't know.
Okay.
That's a hazard. I don't know how accurate I am. But that was my benchmark. That is my benchmark figure that I'm using. I couldn't be incorrect. Don't quote me.
The point I was trying to get at here is it would appear with ex-police officers, senior officers that you have in your cadre, teaming up with members of the non-profit society.
Mr. Nelson? I think
He's gone.
We have lost Herb Nelson. We're speaking to retired Deputy Commissioner of Police, Ms.Novelette Grant. Remember the lady who used to ride the bike around?
No, not me.
That's not. No, that's true. That's
Don't
not you.
No, don't mix me up.
Please,
Don't
sorry.
mix me up. Never.
I thought. I know who you are.
I remember I gave you a biography of my service, and I didn't.
Yes, sorry, that's true.
All right, can you hear me now, Jeff?
Yes, you're back.
I'm hearing you. Yes,
okay,
all
right.
Back.
What I'm getting at here is teaming. It would appear with a population of 3 million and possibly 1.5 million kids, say age 19 and under, that you could use a lot more teaming techniques, breaking out your officers.
No, not me. I am already no. Let me stop you. I am already doing over and beyond. We need other people to step on board. One of the challenge we have, we keep trying to expect a few people to do what many should be doing. So please appeal to other people. Don't tell me what I should be doing. Thank you very much.
Okay.
I am already doing. I'm doing more than enough.
But with
me and my little team. But me and my little team, we are doing.
Well,
right?
that's the
so
problem.
We know,
I'm trying to point out
I
when
hear
everybody's
you,
off doing their own thing, what happens?
No, and I understand that. But here's the dilemma. You see, because everybody have to chase down the donor dollars. You think when I was in the system, you think you think the effort wasn't made to get some kind of coordinated response? Now that I am retired, I continue to do what I can. And the people that I train and educate, I tell them that they are disciples to go out and continue to work, to make the team, to do the things. So I hear you with due respect. There has to be other people that step up to the plate.
Okay, but
I want that appeal to come
okay,
from
let
to
me
those
give you an
people.
idea here, okay? Have you ever reached out? Have you ever reached out to the American Friends of Jamaica?
No.
Have you ever reached out
But
to?
I reach out to a lot of our local people. Those are the
But
people that I went
the
to.
ideas I'm giving you now,
When I was in the system.
starting next month, November, the American
Yeah.
Friends of Jamaica, which
Yeah.
is the U.S. ambassadors and investors in Jamaica. They have this organization in New York City. They give away
Yeah.
$2 to $5 million US each year. And if you have projects that you'd like to present to them, like you want to get a mentor or train the mentor program, something like that, where you want to train mentors, then they would allow you to present the project. Say you want it to last 3 years, and your plan is to train at least 3,000 ex police and military officers. You could get the funding for it. You could estimate the cost and actually get the funding. Same thing applies when you have community development programs for youth with the FIFA Foundation. FIFA is who runs football worldwide. Have over $11 billion US to give away. And the problem is because of the corruption at JFF, nobody in any of the communities been able to get past JFF to get the program in their own community, in their own backyard. So we are up against not just disorganization, but corruption in the communities, which includes politicians as well as those in our uh, various social societies. So even though you may want to stay away from the politicians, there's a problem with the football association, with the netball association, with all of these associations.
Why you want why you pointing me into answers?
Because somebody needs to.
You're a very smart man. You're a very smart man, right? You want to send me? I have done 37 years hard labor in the JCF. And you expecting by retirement I must go and do some more?
Because
Come on, be kinder to me. Be kinder to
in
me, please.
fairness, for 40 years, somebody's been overlooking those people who take money for themselves under the guise that they're going to help the community and don't ever help the community. That's the problem. You know?
No,
And for
well, I
somebody,
know a thing or two that I won't be speaking here. I know a thing or two. I couldn't have been around for so long and don't know a thing or two. And so I hear you, and we are doing what we do, what we love, which is to do education and training of people who we believe are specifically in a position to basically, have that multiplier effect. We continue to do that. We also get into school. Jeffrey, we were in a school with Oberlin developed a program.
Yes.
I'm a Rotarian, so she's a peace fellow. So she got that. Yes. She's one of the persons we work together. And so we are doing as much as we can. I hear you about funding and so on, but sometimes the hurdles to get funding. I mean, it's not for you would. I'm not gonna say. I'm not complaining. I'm just saying the experience of trying to get funding, quote unquote, when I had a name, when I was serving, and I couldn't get anywhere. Now that I am retired, I don't know. I believe that. There you go. I mean, I am not going to tell you the obstacles and the headaches and the whatnot. So I hear you, and it sounds good when people tell you until you knock on the doors.
Well,
Well,
you're I know you're
And even
but you're not alone
he had
though.
to admit it.
You're not alone.
Eh?
What happened to all
Come
those
again?
pastors out there? What happened to the Jamaica Council of Churches? These are people that,
I
them
think
dumb and blind, you know.
yeah,
no,
but somebody
people
gotta
are
point
doing
them in the
things.
right direction.
And he made a point earlier, there was an effort a few years back to try and pull all of these different bits and pieces together to see if we could have something where everybody know what was being done and just to have some kind of coordination. But like everything else, the approach to getting that done it didn't work out, and then it just went. So even within the government itself, and when I talk about government now, I'm talking about the arm of government that implements things. It's institutions, it's ministries, departments, and agencies. It's part of government that I'm talking about. Even there, you have a difficulty in getting the kind of coordination. That youth program and mentorship program that I am speaking of, we went to the relevant ministry, laid the cards on the table and said, we give you the program. We tested the concept. Here are the results. We want to get it out in all the schools across Jamaica. We work with you. You can take it over. We can give it to you. We developed it. I'll give it to you. Me develop it. My brainchild. I'll give it to you.
The Deputy Commissioner, I know
So
you
I
don't
don't need to say anything else. I don't need to say anything about how that went.
have Deputy Commissioner, I know you don't have enough time here with us. So you want to give us your wrap up, your final words with us. What do you think can be done now? And I know you're doing a lot of stuff and so forth. But give us, what do you think should be done from a government perspective? I know you're not in government, I know you're part of government, but just, what would you suggest them for them to do to try and
Well,
help with
well,
this current problem?
well. Obviously, they have to lead and show that they know where they're going, and they have to get people. Because do you know that they used to have the Latin American survey, LAPOP surveys, right? That happens every year. It come to US and local partner here, and that LAPOP survey over and over, the people respondents are saying we are willing to contribute towards the whole crime prevention reduction effort if we can find government programs that we can become part of. So the question is, there's the willingness is there. The question is how is to have the government need to recognize that it has a citizenry with people in there with skills and knowledge and abilities and willingness to contribute. They have to find ways and means to bring those people in a coherent, cohesive, and coordinated manner. That's one. Number two, we as citizens, we have to do some of the homework ourselves, which is to educate ourselves about the challenges, the complexities of the challenges, what is it that we're up against, and then we can start to demand answers, demand solutions. We can put forth ideas. But within our own household and our own communities and institutions, we can still work again around reducing abuse, reducing discrimination, reducing violence. We can start promote healthier relationships. We can start to basically recognize what respect and kindness and caring actually means and live it, not just say it. We need to start to go back to healthier narratives amongst ourselves. We need to focus more on the things that are working and give energy and strength to those. And please, where you can, mentor a child in a positive way.
Before you go, I have this to let you know that we're having a program um, on Sunday, October 29th at 11 a.m. US time, that's 10 a.m. Jamaica time. The Make We Talk program will be having a Jamaica and South Africa Security Summit. Our guests are former Ambassador of Interpol Andy Mashiley, retired FBI agent Wilfred Radigan, Mr. Herb Nelson Jr., who is here with us, and General Godfrey Leby out of South Africa. They will be on the program on October 29th, that's Sunday, October 29th, at 11 a.m. US time, that's 10 a.m. Jamaica time. And we're asking everyone, we'll be live in the diaspora also. We'll be live on a radio station in the diaspora, that's WCPP and WCOP. We'll be live on the Make We Talk Jeffrey Tavares YouTube channel. So join us then, because South Africa and Jamaica have some similar crime problems that we need to discuss and see if we have some solution to it. So we're gonna have Ambassador Andy Mashiley from Interpol, Wilfred Radigan, Herb Nelson Jr., and General Godfrey Leby will be on our program on Sunday, October 29th. So I'm pretty much sure Ms.Novelette Grant will be watching us and taking down some notes and saying to...
Not available that day, not available.
I know it won't be available, but I'm pretty much sure you'll go back and watch the program. You know?
Miss Grant, just to clarify something here. The Vice President of the United States gave 10 million US, and the Foreign Minister from Great Britain, from the UK, gave another 2.9 billion Jamaican. I think the total amount comes to 4.5 billion Jamaican dollars for youth violence prevention and other youth programs. Have you been offered any of that funding for your organization since you're working with youth in school? Do you know of anybody who's been offered a chance?
No, I don't know anything about it. And like I said, I left the program within the JCF. We do.
No. This is current. This is just within the last.
I know. But I'm just saying that when government get these funding, they allocate it where they will. I don't know how they allocate it, so I can't say.
That's what we're trying to figure out, because with a program like yours, if you're not applying to the other two organizations or others out there, right, in the civilian world, then surely the US and the UK giving funds specifically to help our underserved youth, that the government should be looking at your organizations with former police officers who can mentor let me
put it this way. When I left the JCF, I left the program in the hands of the police, the youth part of it. I continue to do the domestic violence training. We do have some whatever, but the few of us who are out here, we are strictly volunteers without any formal systems and structures, because the bureaucracy around that is just too much. The bureaucracy is horrendous around that. Trust me, in trying to set up organizations in Jamaica is not an easy thing. Trust me, I will tell you that.
Are you guys a non-profit? You have non-profit status?
We are, but we have not gone to going through to become a charity, because, like I said, too much hurdle, and because it's just a few of us, it's not a lot of us. And everybody has a life and have different things doing. There are some things that we're not willing to push ourselves to a point where we get ourselves in trouble, because we don't have infrastructure to help us with it. Let us put it that way. So we do what we can, how we can. This place is not an easy place to get people to do things for free. Even to get somebody to organize. We want to do a community thing for community members, and they're asking us for money to mobilize people. I need to be paid to mobilize my own community member. It's how it is. How it is.
Wow.
So, like I said, we have applied to foundations, we have applied to this, we have applied to that. We do a lot of things to help us. It's not so easy as it may sound. And things that come as part of the formal sector is another story. So But we do what we can, and the feedback that we get from the people who we interact with, it's stupendous. They benefit a lot. They use what they get. They're making changes to their lives. So we are doing until we see the opportunity open in the way that it can to help us to expand what we're doing.
Okay.
So when we say retired police officers, don't believe that is 100 of us, because we don't have 100 of us. We probably have less than half a dozen.
Do you know of the organization Hear the Children Cry, Betty and Blaine?
Of course. Yes. Betty and I used to talk a lot. I haven't heard her quite a while.
Yeah. Well, I hope that she can get as much help. Now she's looking at those young kids who are incarcerated. What are they going to do with them in jail to enhance their futures, especially when they are released from jail?
They're not exactly in jail. They don't call it jail for youngsters in conflict with the law.
Well,
Jail
remand centers or wherever.
Yeah, whole places are safety and whatnot. Yeah. No, I never. I just see some pop up. No, I never used to run Sissoko by there. Not me. and I saw Mr. Brown saying thanks for feedback on the domestic violence feature for your station. You're most welcome, Mr. Brown, anytime. Rosamond is my people.
Yes, Rosamond Brown. Yes. Retired Deputy Commissioner of Police, Ms.Novelette Grant. Thank you for coming on to the program. Thanks for your service to the country and to your people, and continue doing the great job you're doing. Don't be a stranger to the Make Talk program now.
All right, take care.
All right.
Thank you, everybody. Thank
Pleasure
you, listeners.
talking
Thank
to
you for
you.
your participation. Pleasure here. Talking to you too. All the best. Take care.
Right.
Thank you very much. So Nelson, you're not going anywhere.
Thank you for inviting me.
You're welcome, Ms. Grant. You're welcome. You're welcome. And I must say thanks to Ms. Oberlin White for assisting me in getting Deputy Commissioner on. I must say thanks to Miss White. I know she's watching us and she's listening and everything in one. And I must say thanks to her.
Okay.
Yes.
If Jeffrey has a contact number for you, I can send you the information on Friends of Jamaica. And I can recommend to them that they support your organization very much.
Okay. No problem. Appreciate. Now he has my number. You can share. No problem.
Email address.
Right. Well, you get the number, you get an email address, because I don't think we hadn't communicated by email, right, Jeffrey?
No, we haven't, but I can get the email address. Don't give it an ear. I get the email address.
Yeah.
All
no
right,
problem.
very good.
Yeah.
All right, thanks.
Okay.
Good, no problem. Take care. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thanks very much. Bye-bye.
Nice meeting you too. Bye-bye.
Same here.
You say I met you before, but
Yeah.
it's the age I'm at now. I don't remember anything.
But you're still looking young, Deputy Commissioner. You're still looking young.
He's laughing at me. No, he don't believe me. Don't laugh at me.
You did 37 years on the force. You must have started when you were about 5 years old.
No, not quite. They wouldn't take me, but I was pretty young. All right, blessings all. Take care.
You know something? I must say thanks to retired Commissioner of Police Francis Forbes. And
yes.
Is it Lucius Thomas?
Yeah, well, departed Lucius Thomas. We buried him earlier this year.
Right.
Yeah, we buried him earlier this year.
There is one with you and Miss Oberlin White, who is there with both of you. What's his name again? Oh my God!
In terms of what?
I think you have a group where you all still have lunch sometimes together.
Oh, you mean Heath?
Yes.
Oh, but then more. Right? Yeah. More, but I know she's yes.
Thanks once again, Deputy Commissioner.
All right. Have a great night. Keep safe, everybody. God bless.
Same to you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Right.
Sir Herb.
Yeah.
In all that is going on in the land of wood and water, you heard about the pipe bomb business that they found in the container?
Yeah, over 300 pipe bombs, which they're going to have to track and trace where that material is coming from. They have a variety of different methodologies that they need to work on to see who was planting them, right? It's important that they do discovery in that area, and to make sure that they uproot the people responsible for planting this stuff.
Yes.
Because whichever way you look at it, how do we know it's not the material that was donated to Jamaica from Morocco that is packed into these pipe bombs along with shrapnel, nails and all kinds of other stuff? How do we know that? Right? So if the Moroccan donation is loose out there, it
Yes.
can be used to blow up all kinds of places. So if this come from Darling Street area, then they have to look for concentration of people in that area over a period of time. That means they might have been moving the pipe bombs in or making the pipe bombs there, and they need
Yes.
to find out who's behind it, and they don't need to stop checking, screening phone numbers, right? Track and trace all them names and stuff, and look if the phone numbers are active anywhere else, right?
Yes.
These are the people that you'd have to make your prime targets as suspects, you know. But this is bad. This is actually terrorism in its formative stages, because now you
Indeed.
want to go out and start blowing things up. Can't have that.
And but you know the communication director for the JCF,
Yeah.
Stephanie Lindsay, said that it's technology lead them to the container. The question that I want to
Technology.
ask to Mr. Nelson is that when the container leave from wherever coming to Jamaica, it has a bill of lading number. It also has a seal on the door.
Yeah. Yeah.
When it goes to the customs in Jamaica, the port in Jamaica, the seal is taken off and those people inspect it and the seal go back on. Can the JCF tell the people of Jamaica when they go when the technology send them to where that container was or is? Did they see a seal on it or did they see a padlock? And if they see a padlock, then that means that maybe some of the pipe bombs may have come out before.
Well, what? Okay, I didn't realize this was actually shipped from overseas. Is that what you're saying? The pipe bombs are shipped from
That's
overseas?
the information that I am getting.
Okay, I didn't realize that. I thought they just discovered it in an area in Darling Street area in Jamaica. But
That's
if
the
it's
information
shipped
that
from
I'm getting. I don't
overseas,
know.
then the FBI, certainly Homeland Security Investigations is in Jamaica. They have a very large. They're in charge of the investigations in Jamaica. They only have one FBI agent there who reports to Dominican Republic. He's just
Right.
an attorney, a legal officer, right? But they can get this thing investigated forensically to see if they can track and trace where all the materials came from, right? So you would not find the missing shipment from Morocco anywhere near that,
No.
or packed into any of it, if it's coming from overseas. So they definitely need to expand that investigation, because they don't have the necessary forensic assets in Jamaica to do that, right?
But
Something as
Mr. Ness,
they,
Mr. Ness,
yeah.
you being a security person, consultant, and so forth, and when you see things like this going on in Jamaica, where criminals have taken a different turn pertaining to pipe bombs, what that signify to you, sir? That means that Jamaica is in crisis.
No, it means somebody has made a decision to escalate the level of violence in Jamaica. I mean, if you didn't think it could be escalated with the amount of long guns, 50 cal and all kinds of other weapons that are there, that will cause police to not go into certain neighborhoods. Then now with the advent of pipe bombs, where they can light, toss, and disappear, this is a new level of sophistication that they have to figure out who's behind it.
Mm-hmm.
Who actually was that? If it was a shipping container, who was all that stuff mailed to? Who was it meant for? Right? They have to get to the bottom of that, and they need outside help to do that. But as far as um, that being allowed to get out and to cause damage, that would certainly create a new level of violence in Jamaica and a new threat to the people of Jamaica. But, thank God they found it. And now they have to investigate and deal with it. Because you need to find out who out there is willing to step up to outright domestic terrorism to achieve whatever end that they want to achieve. That's what they have to look at.
And and something. When I listen to all that is going on, people may say to me, Jeffrey, what are you talking about? I don't hear nothing from anyone in the higher up of government address this problem to the Jamaican people. Are we going to wait until they have a press briefing by the world class Minister of Misinformation, Robert Morgan, to tell the people of Jamaica some stupidness?
Well,
The minute,
it is a problem because Jamaica's staples are not transparency and accountability. There's no consistency in what they do, right? You have key cases. Why was a dead man in the prime minister's lawyer's house,
yes,
right? Why was there all these drugs and stuff seized out in St. Mary, the parish at the airport out
in
there?
Ian Fleming's airport.
Yeah, Ian Fleming's airport. You know, there's a lot of cases out there that are nice, and there's no updates are being given. Nobody's tracking, right? But you have to keep asking the questions every week and invite maybe the spokesperson on for the police to give an interview and explain to us
You
where
mean
those what
Dennis Brooks?
Dennis Brooks. Yeah, find out from Dennis what's the status of those cases. Or do you members of your audience here, they all should make note, and they all should be going to the JAMP website, JAMP Jamaica website,
Yes.
and do access to information requests. If you have 10 to 100 or more people doing access to information requests, then they realize, look, people are interested and people want to know, and we have to give them some kind of answer. The answer can't be we can't release that information. You have to reassure the public that they're not at risk. They're not at risk of being blown up. And this is not gangs that's ordering this stuff, right? So who's ordering it? Who out there is bold enough to want to blow somebody off the face of the earth
And when you
in
look at it,
Jamaica?
when you look at when you look at it, Mr. Nelson, the gentleman from the Maritime Institute said that it is a level, it's a new level of terrorism in Jamaica. And we must be careful if it's not our water, our electrical infrastructure, or is it that they're waiting until something is happening at even, let's say, the National Stadium? We don't know. And that is why the Minister of National Security or the Prime Minister of this country should come out and tell the people of Jamaica what is really going on.
The truth, Jeffrey, is most likely they don't know. They don't have a clue. The other person, the Minister Chang and the Commissioner of Police, they don't have any clues. Right? Go to MIU at our park camp and go to the NIB, the intel agencies, they don't have a damn clue. So the question is, when they decided to go after Dons in the US, did the Dons in the US decide to go after them? Is there a link? You know, I mean,
Very,
as a senior analyst, I look at all angles. You know,
very
I played
interesting
Deion
question.
Jackson here for a while. You have to look at all angles. Who did you mess with that now want to mess with you? Right? Those pipe bombs look pretty sophisticated,
Very much. Yes.
well put together.
And if it is a container that has the pipe bombs in it, are we sure it's just 300 something pipe bombs that was in there? Or was it more and some get out and they're waiting for the time to do what they want to do?
What's needed is a X-ray methodology of all these containers that come in,
You know,
and
as you touch on that,
the
Mr.
X-ray
Nelson,
machine, if they're using AI software, that X-ray machine, it should be able to identify gun components as well as bomb components.
as you touch on that point, Mr. Nelson, former Jamaican ambassador. Hold on there. Are you hearing me better now?
Yeah, you become very scratchy. There's a lot of interference on your.
You hear me?
Yeah, that sounded better a while ago.
Yes. And I was saying that former ambassador to the United Nations, Ambassador Curtis Ward, at one point, tell them about how much the machine costs to extray or the containers coming to the wharf, and they pay him no mind at all. Now you have all these guns and whatever coming into the country. Mr. Nelson?
Yeah. Look, here's the deal. Maybe they ought to Integrity Commission, FID, and MOCA need to go and see some of these accounts where ministers and others in the government and in private sector can't explain their newfound affluence. How did they come by all these millions of dollars? Once it sees, that money should be turned over for crime countermeasures, right? You cannot have this type of stuff happening and they say, oh, like Novelette was saying earlier, we don't have a crime plan. The crime plan doesn't matter. It's a violence plan that they need to have. So who out there is planning the demise of another because that person had injured them or their families in the past? If that's how Jamaicans are thinking nowadays, kind of small-minded, right?
Yes.
But nevertheless, this is what is invoking violence, according to what she was saying.
But Mr. Nelson, in which modern democracy, people say Jeffrey loves to chat about that word too much. In which modern democracy pipe bombs is found in your country and nobody addressed the country about it? No media conference, nothing?
Well, again, like I say, it came out and it's a 9-day wonder. It stops there. Everything that comes out after 9 days disappears. So the government plays that game. They don't have to explain anything unless people like our audience write in through JAMP demanding access to information that they publish or present an explanation on the status of the investigation. You're not asking them for all kind of secret information. You just want to know what's the status of the investigation. Is it safe for tourists? Is it safe for the diaspora to travel back and forth? Or can we expect that somebody's going to be trying to blow us up?
You
It's a
know,
fact of life.
today I have a program, and somebody wrote in the chat room that there's a wharf or there's a whatever at, in Tivoli.
Yeah.
Yes, a wharf in Tivoli. And the person said, Mr. Tavares, if you ship a container from the United States and they come to that wharf there, if you have the good amount of money, the right amount of money, you can grease somebody palm and the container is not even being searched. So the question must be asked to the government of Jamaica. Why do you have that wharf of Tivoli, by the way?
I guess that might have been Dudus's back door.
Yes. And
And
not only do this,
and and
not
you,
only not only do this, Mr. Nelson. There's a very well-known politician who have shares in that wharf,
yeah,
Very well known.
well, look, it's just like those politicians who go out and represent criminals, knowing that criminals have a lot of money to pay them in cash. And I dare not call any names for fear you're going to get a phone call.
No,
Right?
no, 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 no.
So the bottom the bottom line is they know who they are and they know where the easy money is. So when you set up an airport in St. Mary that brings in international traffic, you need to expect that with that international traffic comes contraband,
Yes.
big time contraband, possibly weapons as well, possibly trafficking in humans as well, right? You have to expect all these things. If the analysts in Jamaica that Novelette talks about, if they're doing their jobs, they should be looking at these things and projecting the countermeasures that's needed to ensure nobody's going to get anything past them.
Yes.
Right?
Mr. Nelson, we're gonna speak briefly about this. I don't know if you saw it in the newspaper. Over $50 billion in real estate, over $4 billion in cash. That's how much money and asset the Administrator General Department has in their position to dispose of. These money and assets was left by Jamaicans who never made a will. The government is in the process of selling off the lands that left behind by people who did not make a will.
Who
Now
are they
tell me,
selling? Who are they selling it to? That's the big key.
that's it. That's the question we're asking. Are
Is
they
it
selling to
all
their
right? Remember what I said before, Jeffrey. Transparency and accountability. It has to be consistent. So if there's no transparency, then there's some shenanigans abound, right? And then we have to make them accountable. Remember, the One Jamaica Legal Defense Foundation. We're getting in the money, and we are doing what we're supposed to be doing. So they have to be forewarned that when we release certain information or when we go to court, that we don't have some docket with a name on it, right? But the bottom line is we shouldn't be doing the job of MOCA or CTOC or any NIB, MIU providing that information and data to these investigative agencies to do their jobs.
Yes.
Right? So we can keep talking and we can keep pressing them, but they have to take action.
Mm.
They really and truly have to take some action.
And as we wrap up now, I'm going to urge Jamaicans both home and abroad, please make a will. Do not let the government of any country that you're in get the little chip and say penny supposed to give you to your people then. I know majority of us, or we and our family members may not take a cup of tea or a cup of coffee together. But it doesn't make any sense that you left in the tune of $50 billion in real estate and $4 billion in cash. We do not know who is going to buy these things or how the money is being, we don't know nothing. All we can hear, they're going to sell, they're going to sell, they're going to sell. Who are they selling it to? Are they selling it to themselves? Or to their cronies? Or to the people of the Vumvava and the Vumvavi?
Or is the low-hanging fruit, the cash, is that going to disappear over time?
There you go.
Right? Who's that going to be who's accountable for that? Remember, the Auditor General is one of the people that they first gave a massive raise and kept them
And
on
those are the
along
questions
with the
Mr. Ness must be
DPP.
asked.
Yep.
Why did I give them a raise?
Well, I leave that up to inquisitive minds in CTAC and Mocha to answer that question. Right? That should be a big red flag.
As we wrap up, on Sunday, October 29th at 11 a.m., at 10 a.m. Jamaica time, the Make We Talk program will be having a security forum, Jamaica and South Africa Security Forum. Our guests are Herb Nelson Jr., Ambassador Andy Mashiley, Wilfred Radigan, Lieutenant General Godfrey Lebia. That's Lieutenant General Godfrey Lebia, Wilfred Radigan, Herb Nelson Jr., and Andy Mashiley. They will be on the program on Sunday, October 29th at 11 a.m. US time, 10 a.m. Jamaica time. You have to make sure that you're on this program to listen to what is going to happen, because we're going to discuss a lot of securities things that's going on within Jamaica and South Africa. So please come on down, come on. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. Share this link for Sunday. We're gonna have a great discussion. It'll be live on the Make We Talk program. It will be live in the diaspora on I think it's gonna be on WZPP and WZOP radio. But we're gonna be live, and Jamaicans both home and abroad must listen to this forum. It's a security forum, Jamaica and South Africa Security Forum. Lieutenant General Labia was in Jamaica. Godfrey Labia was in Jamaica, and nobody see it fit to sit him down and speak to him about what is going on in Jamaica. Neither the Commissioner of Police nor the Minister of National Security. And they were all at the conference.
The key argument to that, Jeffrey, was this man is an expert at stopping the robberies of ATM and armored trucks. They killed over 18 criminals who were involved in South Africa's epidemic of robbery of armored trucks and ATM machines.
Yes.
So they must have been doing a lot of communications, track and tracing, and identifying who these persons are that move from ATM to ATM at different banks, and who have been shooting and injuring or killing armored truck guards to get at the loot. So he is very significant when it comes, because Jamaica's failure to stop their armored truck robberies or their ATM robberies is now world renowned.
Yes.
So they had the opportunity to interview with him, to talk about best practices and things like that. And if what Novelette left behind wasn't any of that stuff, which I doubt, they would have utilized it, or would have, or appear not to be keen on identification of these people doing this. Keep in mind that politicians share in lotto scamming, and they also will share in robberies that bring in massive amounts of monies, because they all want to get their campaigns funded.
Yes.
I'm not saying that's what's happening. I'm just saying that they have been done. This has been done in the past. It has been done in the past, and that's how gangs fund themselves. So,
Yep.
thanks to your audience members for listening. Right, Beryllium. Thanks for reminding me the name there. Freedom.
Yes.
Yeah, but hey, it's out there. And by the way, Dr. Taylor was the Hog and Ties board chair for his crime committee. Dr. Taylor at UWI.
Who's Hagandai?
The four. That's what. If you listen to.
I listen to Wayne. I know who we're talking. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. So look, you may want to invite him, because he told me he was available. I sent you his information.
You mean Dr. Devon Taylor?
No, different Taylor.
Let you and I talk off air.
Right. Take a look at your WhatsApp.
Yes, please.
All
so
right.
Just remember that on the 29th of October at 11 a.m., 10 a.m. Jamaica time, the Talk Jamaica and South Africa Security Forum. The guests are Ambassador Andy Mashiley, Wilfred Radigan, Herb Nelson Jr., General Godfrey Libya. They will be on the program on Sunday, October 20th, the Sunday coming. It will be a really robust discussion. A discussion to see what we can do in the sense of solving some of Jamaica's crime problem. Some suggestions. We're not going to just chat. We're going to have suggestions with it. So join us. We're going to have Robert Fringe Smith will be on the program also. We're trying to get a former Minister of National Security to come on. Hopefully he will. He hasn't answered me back as yet. But hopefully he will come on. So that is where we stand. The Talk program will be having a Jamaica and South Africa Security Forum. It will be live on the Talk Jeffrey Tavares YouTube channel. So share it with your friends and family that we'll be coming on to speak about our security problem we face in our country. Until you hear my voice again, I'm Jeffrey Tavares saying thanks to Herb Nelson Jr., retired Deputy Commissioner of Police, Ms.Novelette Grant, for coming on earlier. Thank you so much, Ms. Grant, for coming on. Until you hear me, until you see me again tomorrow morning, I'll be live again tomorrow morning. We'll be having a broadcast to Route 76.1 FM, I presume. I think so. I'm not sure. I think so, yes. So join us then when we're giving you some more topic what is going on within the Caribbean and around the world. God bless you all. Remember to like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Have a good evening, everyone. Mr. Nelson, hold on a minute.
Good evening. Night, Jeff.
Yeah.
Night, listeners.
When the game gets rough and this life just seems so tough, make we talk, my people, make we talk. When this town becomes an ugly place, don't let it erase the smile from your face. Make we talk, people, make we talk. Conversation is the key, a guiding light for you and me. Spark a talk and you will see. Conflict solver A to Z. World leaders master the art of self-defense just by talk. So people, make we talk. Hey, we're living in a world